Hello everyone, we are international relations students and we are going to present about the effects of global warming in the environment.
Hi, my name is Afrina. So now I will explain about what is global warming. Global warming is the gradual increase in the planet's surface temperature is known as global warming. The amount of fossil fuels burned has increased along with the size of the human population. Burning fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and natural gas result in a phenomenon known as a greenhouse effect in the atmosphere of Earth. Climate change has an impact on ecosystems, human societies, and the natural world. Climate change has broad-based on extensive consequences on the environment. In addition to the sea level, they have an impact on water cycles, seas, land, and sea ice, and the frequency of extreme weather and climate events. Not every part of the planet is seeing the same climate changes. Most land locations have warmed more quickly than most ocean places, and the Arctic is warming more quickly than most other regions. But what is the cause of global warming? The reason for this is increases in human activity. As demonstrated by a specific isotopic fingerprint in the atmosphere, the amount of atmospheric carbon dioxide has increased due to the burning of fossil fuels like coal and oil. This rise is brought on by the burning of coal or oil, which produce CO2 when carbon and oxygen are combined. This is our table of content. In this content, we will see how international political economy, international organization, international law of conflict resolution to resolve this problem.
Introduction of International Political Economy. The study of international political economy is interdisciplinary academic discipline that examines economics, politics, and international relations. International political economy enables us to comprehend the global structure and the power dynamics that govern finance and trade, which has significant impact on the distribution of wealth and poverty both globally within the countries. Such an approach, in my opinion, provide a better understanding of power structure as well how international relations and trade drive globalization. The study of political economy focuses on the interaction between the market and government policies. The political economy of climate change is an approach that uses political economy thinking about the social and political process to investigate the critical issues surrounding the climate change decision making. The growing awareness and urgency of climate change has prompted the scholar to seek a better understanding of various actors and influencing factors that affect climate change negotiation, as well as more effective climate change solutions. Analyzing this complex issue from a political economy standpoint helps to explain the interaction between different stakeholders in response to climate change impact and provide the opportunity for better policy implementation. The importance of international political economy. Despite the fact that both trade and investment has significant impact on environment, existing literature shows the impact of economic globalization on environment as a whole manifests through a variety of mechanisms, some of which are beneficial to the environment and others which are detrimental. As a result, the environment is a critical component of modern politics requiring immediate action. This action frequently international cooperation between governments with agreement to reach in order to decide the best way to pursue environmental issue. This decision must take the entire world into the account, as it's difficult to draw the borders around the environmental issue. For example, emission can be produced in one area but affect the rest of the world. Furthermore, in order to achieve positive result, all the countries must act to improve these problems. Otherwise, the issues are difficult to resolve due to the large scale. The problem that has happened in the last 10 years, the dynamic of climate change politics have presented two fundamental and entirely contradictory challenges to political economy. Other than that, the new science of net zero emission have resulted in growing recognition that a world free of fossil fuels is both absolutely necessary and profoundly transformative. On the other hand, civilization collapse, absolutely decline in human population, collapse of food production system, and collapse of social institutions is now widely known as a completely plausible path for the world within our lifetime. As a result, the stake in the climate politics has risen dramatically. How to solve it? Another political solution to global warming is issuance of emission paper, which will allow industrial nations with a high demand for carbon dioxide to purchase emission paper from low-income economies that rely more heavily on agriculture. This emission paper could be issued by organizations with total issuance that having to define the global climate goals. As a result, the total issuance of emission paper will be reduced each year until the climate goals are met. This option is frequently discussed in climate change panels, is widely accepted as a useful method. However, there is development issue with this approach. Low-income economies may become even more dependent on industrial high-income economies. The trade with emission paper could be incentive for poor nations to develop their industry, thereby cementing their status underdeveloped agriculture based on economies. Although beneficial to the environment, this approach will deepen the global divide between rich and poor countries.
So, what is international organization? It is actually one of the includes members from more than one nation. Some international organizations, such as corporations, are extremely large. International organizations have played a leading role in the identifying and supporting research into environmental hazards. They have propagated transnational collaboration to combat air and water pollution, acid rain, and global warming, for example. There are two types of international organization, which is governmental and non-governmental. For the governmental, there are three examples of international organization that helps with global warming. The first one is IPCC, which stands for Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. It's created to provide policymakers with regular scientific assessment on climate change. The second one is GGGI, which is Global Green Growth Institute. This organization is treaty-based international intergovernmental organization dedicated to supporting and promoting strong, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth in developing countries and emerging economies. The third one is WWF, Worldwide Fund for Nature. This organization is very famous on working to help people and nature cope with a changing climate through supporting efforts to build climate resilience. Next, we will be talking about the non-governmental organization. These are two examples. The first one is Greenpeace. Their job is to investigate, document, and expose the causes of environmental destruction. They work to bring about the changing by lobbying, consumer pressure, and mobilizing members of the general public. The second one is EDF, which stands for Environmental Defense Funds. They're trying to build lasting ways to stabilize the climate and protect communities. They work to solve the most critical environmental problems facing the planet. This has drawn us to areas that span the biosphere, climate, ocean, ecosystem, and health.
Hi, I am Afiqah and I am going to explain how international law and conflict resolution solve the effects of global warming on the environment. As we know, these days conflict frequently arise over environmental issues such as land use, natural resource management, and laws and regulation emerging from diverging stakeholder interests and values. We are bombarded daily by stories of conflict, polarization, and the existential threats of climate change and biodiversity loss. However, there are countless examples of people coming together to constructively solve problems and collaboratively manage the environment, both built environment and natural system. First of all, we need to understand what is the international conflict. International conflict resolution is concerned with the process of removing tension between states or maintaining them at level consistent with the continued peaceful pursuit by state of their goal. Next is, we need to understand the environmental conflict. Environmental disputes are basically conflicting interests and needs among diverse groups of people related to natural resource and ecosystem services. Conflict arises when some aspect of the social or environmental system change and brings people incompatible interests into direct tension. In that context, climate variability and policy response to it are giving rise to new flashpoints. Across societies, people are having to renegotiate their relationship with each other in the context of climate change. It is essential that we find ways to enable constructive conflict management. So, there are three main rules in international law. First of all is to provide one of the parties in conflict with ground to justify its argument. Next is to provide a normative basis for the settlement of the dispute. And lastly is to contribute to the overall solution of the underlying conflicts. In this seminar, I will give you two examples of conflict between countries. First is the Amazon rainforest disaster. This natural disaster has shocked the world since the rainforest was known as the planet's lung. This rainforest is located between 7 countries, which are Brazil, Colombia, Peru, Ecuador, Venezuela, Guyana, and Bolivia. The issues on natural resources, land tenure, economic development, sovereignty, and dignified livelihoods are creating enormous challenges for societies and ecosystems. To solve this, protected areas have been established to safeguard ecosystem services, but they also present obstacles to the development of certain natural resources like timber, gold, and agriculture. Network of stakeholders and protected area managers such as neighborhood, countries, NGOs, MNC, as well as the government have come together to create cooperative approaches to conflict management with the ultimate goal of improving protected area governance. Next conflict is the Indonesia-Malaysia haze conflict. Indonesia is the third largest emitter of greenhouse gases, which it affects many countries in Southeast Asia. Indonesia saw massive forest fire in haze during the period of July to October 2019. A key driver of the fires is the clearing and draining of forests and peatland for industrial plantation. Transboundary haze from this fire, particularly from sources in Sumatra and Kalimantan, reached Singapore and Malaysia in September 2019, noticeably worsening measured air quality. Many fires were burning in and adjacent to oil palm, pulp, and paper plantation. Groups with links to Malaysia with fire on their land include IOI, Genting, and KLK. Those linked to Singapore include Bumitama and Musim Mas. Lastly, how can we overcome based on these previous issues? First of all is to forecast climatological conditions that are likely to result in fires in haze. Second is to map areas subject to a heightened risk of forest fires, including how these at-risk areas expand or shrink in response to seasonal, annual, or multi-year changes in climate. Third, we also should manage and disseminate information on fires in haze, the geographical areas that may be affected by haze, and the human health impacts or likely impacts of existing or forecasted haze presence of movement. Fourth, the authorities should reviewing the existing policy framework at the national level to determine how the economic incentives that it provides are likely to shape the use of fire as a tool or a weapon. Lastly, authorities should also bring about appropriate policy changes to ensure that the economic incentive provided by the policy framework at the national level are consistent with the policy on open burning. That's it from me. Thank you.
As a conclusion, we should not take global warming lightly. The polar ice caps are melting, the oceans are warming, and the greenhouse gas levels are at their highest point ever.